Hello, I am Patty Azar, and I am the CEO of Vision Alignment, and I am thrilled as always to be the moderator and the host for the Global Chamber. And we are having another fabulous interview with another great leader who is Diana Harbison. And I'm going to hand it over right now for Doug Brunke, founder and CEO of the Global Chamber.
Thank you very much, Patty, and good morning and good afternoon, good evening to all, and to you, Diana, in DC. I'm at Global Chamber headquarters in Scottsdale, Arizona. We are very pleased and very excited to be working with the U.S. Trade Development Agency. Just so impressed by their mission, which is so aligned with the Global Chamber. They're creating jobs through exporting. They're creating bridges, literally and figuratively, around the world through infrastructure projects, energy, food, telecommunications, and a variety of things that are going on in building the world. And why not involve U.S. companies in that? It's harder for U.S. companies to do that alone. And so when the USTDA does their reverse trade missions and does their assistance for U.S. exporters, it helps an awful lot. And so that's very consistent with what we do at Global Chamber. We recognize that the world is a big place. We recognize that we all can't know everyone. And so why not get a little bit of help from the experts? And the USTDA are great experts to be partnered with, and we're just honored to be part of not only the collaboration that we'll be doing going forward, but in today's discussion. So thank you, Patty. Thank you, Diana, and looking forward to learning more.
Well, I'm so thrilled because I love interviewing magnificent leaders. And now with Diana Harbison, the director of the Office of Program Monitoring and Evaluation for the USTDA. You know, Diana, it's just so wonderful because you've been on both sides of the desk out there. So you understand the impact to the folks in the community, the government, and then also the private sector. So your organization is it's really like a too well of a kept secret. Talk to us more about what the USTDA does and your specific role.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thanks so much for having me here today and for inviting our agency to be part of this. It means a great deal because we're able to spread information about our agency and the resources we provide to U.S. companies. And so as an independent agency of the federal government, we provide funding that gives U.S. companies opportunities, access, and support. As Doug mentioned, we provide those opportunities through our reverse trade missions, where we invite delegations from overseas to come here to the United States to see goods and services, either in manufacturing facilities or to meet with U.S. companies who can provide them with those goods and services that they need for those infrastructure projects. We also provide the access to funding that supports project planning activities. To make infrastructure projects viable, you need to prove their technical viability as well as their financial viability. And so again, we provide grant funding that allows U.S. companies to conduct that work for our host country partners overseas to make projects succeed and help make projects successful. We also provide support. We have contract opportunities that are available for U.S. companies who'd like to provide the agency directly technical services and advice we need. Our staff are experts in a lot of different areas, and so we have to rely on the technical expertise of our U.S. industry. And so those opportunities are also available to our U.S. partners. My role in the agency is actually a very fun one. I manage a team that measures the impact and the benefit of the agency's work. And as you can see on our website, we have a very positive return on U.S. jobs and U.S. exports. For every $1 of funding, we generate $85 in U.S. exports. So we're very proud of that. Our staff are very committed to the mission, and they get a great deal of pride out of bringing benefit not only at home but also overseas in the middle income and developing countries that we work in.
Well, I love that because I was hoping you were going to bring out that 1 to 85 ratio because since I'm a business person, that's about sustainability and profitability. So no one can ever say that you're just a cost center inside of our government. You are out there really generating profitability for the U.S. and helping us really position ourselves as a thought leader out there.
That's right. And we work closely with our government colleagues in this effort as well. We have a very close relationship with the US Exim Bank, the Department of Commerce, the Small Business Administration, and a lot of the other resources that US companies may be familiar with. And so we work very closely together to identify where US government can provide the solutions to US companies trying to do business overseas.
Well, I love that you said that because we interviewed Chairman Hochberg, from the Import-Export Bank. And when you and I had talked, we talked about the chicken and the egg scenario. Can you give us a little bit more information there? Because this is very interesting because so many business people do not understand all of the great resources at their fingertips if they know about you.
That's right. And I actually like to bring in other colleagues in the scenarios that I play out to explain how the different agencies work together. But we are the agency that provides that project planning support that brings projects from concept to reality. Our grant funding is used to prove the technical and the engineering design or even the financial viability of the project that then allows the host country sponsor with their U.S. company partner to secure financing for the construction of the project. And that's where the U.S. Exim Bank comes in. And again, because we share a similar mandate to Exim as well as Commerce and Small Business Administration, which is helping U.S. businesses succeed overseas, we can very much work hand in hand to pass off the responsibilities as companies move through the project development lifecycle. So again, we often come first, and Exim Bank's financing comes second, whereas SBA and Department of Commerce end up playing a role throughout the entire process, working closely with our respective agencies.
Well, that is magnificent. And, it's so interesting. And I love the fact that you're talking about tech, you're talking about manufacturing, because that's really on the agenda now. Lots of folks talking about manufacturing. And then for what you're talking about, we can export jobs throughout the world in products and services.
That's right.
How do you, can you give us a specific example of an organization that you've been able to help position for their manufacturing and their technical support from the U.S. to any part of the world?
Sure, I'd be happy to. In fact, I think some of our clean energy work is some of the most compelling and interesting, frankly, because a lot of the countries we're working in are trying to identify solutions to their energy problems. And so we've actually done a couple of different things where we worked with a host country sponsor in South Africa to identify how they can integrate renewable energy fuel sources like solar and wind into the grid. But there's also been a recognition and appreciation of the importance of energy storage in this field. And so we've actually worked very closely with our energy storage US experts and those leading in the industry to make sure that they are in constant communication and have relationships with the South African counterparts we're working with. We've done this in a few ways, not only through the grant funding that's identifying the viability of a renewable energy connection to the energy storage solution, but also by bringing a delegation over to the United States to participate in the Energy Storage Association's annual conference. So the South African delegates, as well as some other delegates we brought from elsewhere in the world, were able to see all of the major players in the industry all in one place and one time to share experiences, to share the challenges and the technical questions they had about integrating the solution into their host country environment. And as a result of that, we are hopeful that the South African delegates are going to be able to create this energy storage project opportunity, and again, to use U.S. expertise in the process.
Well, you know that you say that that was really coming up to my next question because I know that the large players are out there. The large players got big because they knew how to really tap into all the great resources out there. But the engine of the United States has typically been the small business. What role do you play for small business? Because I was so shocked, positively shocked, when we talked to the chairman at the Import Export Bank about you don't have to be the big person out there or the big company to get support.
That's right. We have very sophisticated relationships with a multitude of small business companies that we work with. They are the bread and butter of almost everything the agency does. They are seen not only in the direct contract opportunities that we have for the reverse trade missions that we fund. There are a number of small businesses that help us to arrange those visits. But we've also seen a number of small businesses use the agency's program work to grow and to expand their services that they're trying to offer and the expertise they're trying to offer. In fact, there's one company in the aviation field that actually started doing technical services work for our agency. When we receive a proposal concept, we hire a technical expert to advise us on the reasonableness of the scope and budget that we are considering for funding. And this particular company started off doing business with the agency in that way. And now she and her company have gone on to provide direct contractual services support for the Mexican airport operating companies, Colombian airport operating companies, and even in the security, expanding into the aviation security realm. And so those are the types of stories that we as an agency enjoy hearing, because that means that our services are not only helping them to again work with the federal government and again provide the sound expertise they have, but also grow their business into new areas.
Well, I love that. So that means that they can have an open door doing good work, and you're going to evaluate to make sure that that work is actually executed in the way and the fashion that they say that they will. But then it really gives an opportunity to expand in any location. And I love the fact for our small business owners out there to hear that, and especially gender has no role. So it doesn't matter the gender, wherever it is inside the world, is what you're telling me.
That's right. And what's been most rewarding too is that companies like hers, they come back and tell us about the value and the benefit that our agency has brought to them. And again, that's the underpins almost everything the agency does is measuring and evaluating the value that it brings to U.S. companies and fulfilling our mission, because that's really the reason why we do everything that we do and what motivates and drives a lot of our funding decisions.
Well, before I ask you about how you do that, because I know you've got some tremendous models out there, especially when you're talking about an 85-to-1 ratio. Tell me about some of the larger areas that you're seeing in terms of growth through the agency, and the folks out here that are listening to you today can say, oh, that might be something that I could tap into.
Sure. In addition to the obvious sectors in which we work, being energy, transportation, and telecommunications, the agency has also been very creative and innovative with regard to its new initiatives, like Making Global Local, which is the largest domestic outreach program in the agency's history. We now have 85 partners that represent over 30 states. I believe it was 32 at last count, plus the district makes that 33. And it makes a great opportunity for the one that we're experiencing right here, right now, is our relationships with the organizations like Global Chamber, who help us get the word out about the resources that we provide. And we are so grateful for your support and willingness to partner with us as an agency because of the value and mutual benefit that it brings. In addition to the Making Global Local program, we've also really led the effort to promote and encourage best practices with regard to procurement. So through our Global Procurement Initiative, we are working with our host country partners to make sure they are adopting and integrating and using procurement practices that ensure the success of the projects they're trying to pursue. So it's not least cost if you have to pay for something twice, as we like to say. And so instead of choosing the cheapest option, it's learning how to measure and quantify and evaluate life cycle costing and the value and benefit you get from paying more for something that will last longer in the long term. And then third, of course, is our Smart Cities initiative in India, which is some of the proudest work we're doing right now in a particular market. The Indian government launched a competition to allow their cities to submit proposals to access their own federal resources to develop cities into, quote, smart cities, which make the city more efficient, provide more resources to its citizens, and integrate a lot of the areas like transportation, energy, and telecommunications in which we work. And so it's a very good position for our agency to be in, which is scoping out how to maximize the benefit of infrastructure and bring economic growth to the markets in which we work. So we've partnered with 3 cities in India. One of the 3 cities we partnered with recently won the competition, so we're very proud.
Congratulations.
Yes, we're very proud of them for that accomplishment, and we'll continue to work to identify the infrastructure projects that are most important to helping them realize their goals.
So when you talk about providing best practices and teaching, how do you teach? What type of mechanisms are you talking about? Meeting people face to face? Are you doing this online? Are you doing this through webinar? How are you helping the world?
Sure, it's predominantly face-to-face, either hosting events here, as we mentioned, through the reverse trade missions, but even hosting workshops and conferences and other technical assistance-like activities in the host market. We've even gone so far as to conduct regional activities where, in the case of Southeast Asia, a lot of those countries were striving to achieve aviation safety security and working very closely with the Federal Aviation Administration. And so we saw an opportunity to really bring all of those countries together and all those aviation oversight authorities together in one place to meet with the FAA and TSA and to talk about what were the barriers prohibiting their ability to achieve a sound safety environment. And we've been very proud to see India, Indonesia, and even Vietnam, fingers crossed, achieve a category rating that gives the FAA confidence and gives the country confidence that they can fly directly to the United States and expand those services, which again grows the market and creates more opportunities for U.S. businesses to support those airport infrastructure projects, sell airport security equipment, and again provide technical services in that regard.
Capitalism is such a wonderful thing, isn't it? To go out and to help people prosper, and everyone prospers like that. You have so much to be proud of. Let me ask you this, Diana. What about American companies like myself? I may be a service provider instead of someone who actually goes out and, has any type of IP or services or product for technology. How do I become trained to understand how to best work with you and to be able to take advantage of your great agency and then your network?
Sure. So there are 3 ways. One is to bid on the contract opportunities that we put on the Federal Business Opportunities website. Again, those are contract actions directly with the agency, staff like myself, who are seeking technical services to vet project ideas. The second way is that you can partner with some of the contractors that are on some of our other contract mechanisms, like the indefinite quantity indefinite service contract actions that I mentioned for the logistics providers for those reverse trade missions. Those companies are listed on our website. We also have an energy IDIQ, where there are 15 companies that have been pre-qualified to provide energy service expertise to us. And again, in similar ways, U.S. companies can reach out to them to create a relationship. But the third way may be the most straightforward as well, through proposing project ideas directly to the agency.
Really?
So if a U.S. business has a specific project interest overseas and a specific customer they'd like to work with and partner with in the development of a project, that U.S. company can propose that idea directly to the agency. There is a map, almost a choose your own adventure type mapping on our website that walks you through the steps and the information that we as an agency need to consider your project idea. And so as you walk through that map on our website, you can determine how best to approach us and propose the idea to us for our grant funding consideration. And again, this is called a sole source proposal. So it means the U.S. company has already identified the project work they want to do with the partner they want to work with, and we can provide the resources to make that possible.
Has all of this come under your leadership?
No, we actually have an amazing senior management team, and I believe that the agency as a whole is really unique because we work together to solve agency-wide issues. 2 years ago, efficiency and process improvements were our priority, and we make great strides in that effort. And every year we conduct strategic planning where we identify the goals we want to achieve for ourselves in the coming year. And I think that commitment and employee investment in solving agency-specific problems is reflected in our federal employee viewpoint survey results. It's one of the reasons why we've been ranked so highly for so many years as one of the best places in government to work for. I also think it's a testament to the responses you see there, where there's a strong belief and value in senior leadership and managers, and a very sophisticated and heartfelt understanding of the value and benefit we bring as an agency in fulfilling our goals. I also have to say that we really love to hear from our company stakeholders, and because we have that direct line of communication, we get to hear those amazing anecdotal stories like the one I told you before of a U.S. company who's been able to grow her business as a result of partnering with us. And she's one of many stories we get to hear. So firsthand storytelling is also something we greatly value as well, that makes us feel so committed to our mission.
I'm so grateful that you went through there and talked about the team. That is so critical in terms of development. And I really appreciate the fact that you don't ask anyone to do something that you don't do internally. And to me, that's about walking the talk. And so when you talk to companies out there, it's so critical that they understand that you do the same thing, that you're in that spirit. One of your principles is continuous self-improvement and driving efficiency, which comes down to your evaluation process, because it's one thing to think about something, it's another to plan and put it out there. But you come back and say, this is where the rubber hit the road and it's a go or no go. How does that process work for you, and how do you help people improve out there?
Sure. And evaluation is often a scary word that people don't understand, but it's something that comes very natural to everyone. They just call it something different. At the end of the day, performance improvement, as you rightly mentioned, but also customer service and evaluation, all three of those things go hand in hand. And the federal government has made this a priority for nearly 3 decades, so it doesn't come new to us. Because for 30 years we've been evaluating the impact of our funding. We have a lot of data about our program, what has worked, what hasn't, and the reasons why. That's why we have prioritized the markets in which we work, as well as the sectors in which we work. And we also have been able to integrate that knowledge and understanding of our experience and achievements in the conversations that we have with our partners. We're able to share this information with U.S. companies. When they come to us with an idea, we can tell them, in our experience, these are the things that we've seen when projects are at this stage in this market in this way, and these are the things you should consider incorporating in your planning to ensure that you're successful in the end. But to get to the nitty-gritty details of the process, we evaluate every project at least once We more often than not evaluate it multiple times over multiple years, because as we all know, major infrastructure projects can take many years, if not a decade, to be realized. And because we're at the early stages of development, providing that project planning funding, we want to know how our funding for that feasibility study and technical assistance impacted the inevitable outcome. And so through the evaluation process of looking at all of our activities, we're able to really have a deep understanding of how U.S. industry is succeeding overseas, what features lead to that success, and how we can continue to provide an important role in that process.
I think that is just so awesome. And so you help people, and because if you're not going to evaluate it, there's no reason to do something. Evaluation to me and feedback to me is the greatest word in business, because it's either positive or negative. It gives you an opportunity to correct. I see you in such a positive position and a positive role after the election, in terms of looking at doing right things right and supporting us on our exports. I see an acceleration for what's going to happen for your team. What do you believe is going to be your role, or if any changes at all coming up? Because I just see you in a positive impact, positive role.
Sure. We have a mission that is relatable to many different people and individuals. U.S. businesses being our primary focus and motivation of our mission to create U.S. jobs through the export of goods and services to developing and middle-income countries. It's a mission that is easy to support. Also, because we're bringing benefit overseas, there's the mutual relationship. And as we've seen in the past, we believe that we're going to continue to be able to deliver on that mission without any interruption, frankly. And so we will continue to work with U.S. businesses and invite them to bring those sound project ideas to us in the countries in which they see the greatest opportunity.
That is wonderful. And let me ask you this: do you have the one office up in D.C., or are there satellite offices around the country that people can tap into?
I love that question. We do have representation. So we're here in Roslyn, Virginia, but we also have domestic representation in Miami. One of our Brazil country managers is based there, so she gets to interact with the Brazilians who come to visit for events and the like. We also have representation in California, in Los Angeles. We also have international offices in Brazil, in South Africa, in Ghana, Nigeria. We also have Southeast Asia representation, South and Southeast Asia in India, in Thailand and Vietnam, and then also in China. And so if companies find that they're on travel in these locations, they are strongly encouraged to reach out to our employees and make contact with them to talk about the ideas and the needs that they see.
Well, I tell you, if they mirror your magnificence, it's going to be worth the trip. That's for doggone sure, because you are wonderful, and I love the spirit of inclusion and the spirit of winning for everyone, and the spirit of let's do what we can do to really expand our services and our products throughout the world. So my next question is, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. Tell me how I would go about meeting you or meeting your team, or getting give us a call out in terms of how to find you and what would be the best ways to go about it.
Sure, there's a couple different ways. As in this world, we're on a Google Hangout, so there are lots of ways to communicate. But one is my favorite, which is simply pick up the phone and call us. You will be connected to the regional representative that you are interested in speaking with. Again, we're divided regionally primarily, so if you have a particular market of interest, you can ask to speak with that individual. Or if you have an energy or transportation or telecommunication interest, we're also divided by sector. So again, just stating your interests, and our receptionist can put you in touch with the individual. On our website, we also have email addresses for all of these different groups and that you can use to make contact. But additionally, if you are in Arizona and you have a relationship with your local representatives, such as the Global Chamber or the Export Assistance Center or any of our other Making Global Local partners, you are strongly encouraged to contact them, and they can help guide you and put you in touch with us. It's one of the primary reasons why our relationship with the Global Chamber and others is so vitally important, because you help to ensure that people understand how to reach agencies like ours, how to navigate it, and the resources we can bring to bear. So those are the two best ways to reach us.
I love the telephone. Thank you. I still love the telephone. There's nothing like the human interaction. And
That's right.
And what I'm hearing from you, because when, I have to tell you, this is my old bias. I think of the government, I think of red tape. Is it difficult, and is it a long process to start to have a relationship with you once I get inside that relationship and say, you know what, I found an opportunity for myself?
Sure. It's taken as little as 3 months from first touch to work and boots on the ground, to as long as many years. And that's because it depends entirely on how well developed the project idea is.
Got it.
And again, why we work so closely with our partners through the process. So in the case of 3 months, that means somebody has a fully formed idea, they're ready to begin work immediately, and we are committed to keeping up pace with them. There are obviously steps we have to go through, like due diligence and, again, the technical review of the concept, but that can happen in relatively short order. 90 days is not too terribly long to wait.
Not at all.
Yeah, in the case of multiple years, those are the instances and examples where we, again, are providing advice to our project stakeholders, helping them either find the host country partner that's best suited for the project idea, or working with the host country sponsor to better understand the needs, to make sure that what we're funding is going to fulfill their economic growth goals, or simply looking through the technical viability of what's being proposed as well. We are at the forefront, like energy storage, the forefront of some of these technologies, and it may take time to understand how they work in the particular markets that we're in. Obviously, a fuel cell in California is going to be operating very differently than a market like Ghana. And so those are the types of considerations we have to take into account.
Well, you know that I'm going to reach out to your office out here, and I'm going to go through Doug and his magnificent team out here, because there's nothing like the Global Chamber. But I'm hoping that you're going to be cloned in every office, because you truly are the magnificent leader. And it has been such a pleasure having this dialogue with you today, because you gave great information, practical tips, and anyone out there that has a really great product or service that can stand behind it and prove that they can execute to your great standards, they have an opportunity to compete worldwide. I think that is just a great thing to hear today, and I thank you for that.
Thank you very much for having me on today and for supporting our agency. And again, Doug, thanks so much for the opportunity and your willingness to partner. It's so vitally important. Both you and Patty play a critical role in making sure that citizens of this country know about the resources that are available to help them fulfill their business goals. So thank you very much.
Well, you're so welcome. And I am Patty Azar, and I am the CEO of Vision Alignment, and I am the author and the IP holder of The Magnificent Leader, which I'm very proud about. And it's so wonderful to be able to have an alliance and a partnership with the Global Chamber. And now I'm going to hand this right over to Doug, because it's important for Doug, as the founder and the CEO, to be able to really close this great loop from what the Global Chamber is doing and working with USTDA and all the great agencies out there. But I have to tell you, it's going to be hard to find another agency that will top this one. I have to tell you, Diana Harbison, thank you so much. Hello, Doug, right over to you.
One of the real challenges that you both talked about is that these companies, whether they're small or even some larger ones, the world is a big place, and there's a lot of danger out there, and there's a lot of uncertainty. We're sitting here talking about 2017, and there's a lot of uncertainty in general. And with the recent elections, not just in the U.S. but around the world, there's uncertainty. And so, we, like USTDA, we at Global Chamber, are really totally dedicated to helping these companies succeed, lower the risk, cut through the uncertainty and be as successful as they can. And, at the end of the day, a lot of it is connections. It's knowing the right people, not only in your own community, but around the world. And so all of the things that Diana talked about in terms of what USTDA does in bringing these connections to U.S. companies is just inspiring. And it's part of what we work very hard at doing here at Global Chamber, and that is recognizing that there's a village of resources, there's a village of experts, there's a world of opportunity out there, and by using that village, we all gain by achieving the opportunity to capture those deals, those exporting opportunities, those foreign direct investment opportunities. And so, Diana, thank you so much for this partnership between USTDA and Global Chamber. We look forward to working with you going forward, and keep up the great work. We're right behind you.
Thank you.
Patty, thank you so much for moderating. We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks, as always, for your magnificence as well, and all of the great things that you do. You want to conclude this broadcast?
Yes, I just want to thank everyone who is supporting the Global Chamber. I ask everyone to support the USTDA. And I have to tell you, the Global Chamber is a huge resource there. I've had the wonderful pleasure and honor of working with several of the chapter executive directors. And if you're you should just go to the Global Chamber website. Doug, and under his leadership, has created just a magnificent organization to do right things right the first time. And I love it because when he wins, everybody wins, and that's their mantra there. So I want to thank you, and everyone have a fabulous week.